My fiancée tried to swap me for her ex after getting engaged, so I swapped the locks, changed the flight, and ghosted her entire bloodline. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and when I first met Ava, I genuinely thought I'd somehow stumbled into a dream. She was the kind of beautiful that made people stop, mid-conversation, confident, sharp-tongued, in the kind of way that made you want to impress her just to earn a smile. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. She was standing alone near the bar, scrolling through her phone like she owned the place. I offered to buy her a drink. She said, "Only if it's not some desperate move." I laughed. She didn't, and somehow I still fell for her. 3 weeks later, we were inseparable. She'd sleep over at my apartment and critique my movie choices while curled up in my hoodie. She called me refreshing and calm. One night, half drunk on red wine and rooftop air, she told me I was the kind of guy she wished she'd met earlier. "I used to chase chaos," she said, "but I think I'm ready for stability." At the time, I thought that was the highest praise. I wore the word stable like a badge of honor, liable, steady, safe. It didn't hit me until much later that safe was just code for, you won't break me, but I'll never burn for you. Even early on, there were signs. She never laughed at my jokes the way she laughed at stories about her exes. She complimented my loyalty more than she did my passion, but I told myself it didn't matter. That love was supposed to feel peaceful, not electric. I ignored the knots in my gut. I ignored how she never introduced me as her boyfriend, unless someone asked. I ignored the way her eyes lit up more for her phone than they ever did for me, because the truth was I was scared. Scared that if I asked too many questions, I'd break the spell. And deep down, I think I already knew it wasn't real. 6 months in, Ava told me she wanted to leave her job and start her own marketing agency. She said she was tired of building other people's empires, that she wanted to create something of her own. I admired that. Honestly, I wanted to be the kind of man who helped his partner win. So when she showed me her pitch deck, lean, colorful, a little chaotic like her, I told her, I believed in it. In her, she needed funding, a small launch budget website, branding, some office space, around $20,000. That was most of my savings, but I didn't hesitate. I wired the money within a week. No contract, no paperwork. She looked at me like I'd hung the moon. She said, "We're building something real now, our future." Those words melted every trace of doubt I had. But as the weeks went by, something shifted. She hired 2 of her friends. Never asked if I wanted a role. When I offered ideas, she smiled like I was a child showing off finger paintings. The branding changed, the website changed, and suddenly her name was the only one on the masthead. "It's cleaner this way," she said, "less complicated." Still, I told myself not to overthink it. I convinced myself that just being her supporter was enough. That love wasn't about keeping score, but then came the dinners where she'd toast to my company in front of others. The way she lit up when clients called her boss lady. The way she brushed off my questions about where the revenue was going. "It's early," she'd say. "Let me figure things out." And the most twisted part, I was proud. Even as she erased me from the story, I kept telling myself I was lucky to be beside her, because she said we were building it together. And I wanted so badly to believe her. I proposed on a quiet Sunday morning. No crowd, no fireworks, just us in the kitchen, sunlight pouring through the window, and me on one knee with a simple ring. She stared at it for a long second, too long. Then she smiled, said yes, and kissed me. But even as her arms wrapped around my neck, it felt muted, like I'd given her a check mark, not a moment. Later that day, she posted the ring on Instagram. Not a photo of us, just her hand, manicured and perfectly angled under good lighting. The caption read, finally tag my time, #ring goals. Within minutes, the likes poured in. Her friends commented with fire emojis and yes queen. My name wasn't even mentioned. I didn't say anything. I told myself she was just excited, caught up in the rush. But the weirdness kept growing. When we talked about wedding plans, she cared more about aesthetics than emotion. "It needs to go viral," she said once, scrolling Pinterest while I read vendor contracts. Like, not too cheesy, but still luxury minimalist. I remember one night, sitting across from her with color swatches and budgeting sheets. She barely looked up from her phone. I asked, "Do you even want this wedding?" "Us." She laughed like I'd told a dumb joke and said, don't be so sensitive. You're the one who proposed, remember? That sentence stuck in my chest like a splinter. She used to say, I made her feel grounded. Now, it felt like I was just the ground beneath her heels. Solid, necessary, but invisible. The more we planned, the more disconnected I felt. Like I was watching my own engagement unfold from behind glass. Something was off. I could feel it in the way she touched me less, in the way she dodged my gaze during conversations, in the way she flinched when I used the word forever, and I wish I'd trusted that feeling sooner. It was a Tuesday night. She'd just come back from a client meeting and dropped her phone on the couch before heading to the shower. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear I wasn't, but her phone lit up with a message from someone named T. Just the letter. No last name, no emoji. Something about it made my stomach twist. The message read, still thinking about last weekend. You looked amazing. Wish things were different. I sat there frozen. Hands trembling, I tapped into the thread. I shouldn't have tied no. But curiosity stopped being innocent the second I saw my name in the scroll. Ava had been talking to her ex, Tyler, not just talking, flirting like they never broke up, like I didn't exist. There were messages going back weeks. Photos of her outfits before events asking if he liked them, jokes about trading instability for sparks, and one message that made my throat close up completely. I don't know if I can go through with this wedding. He's good to me, but he's not you. I swear I stopped breathing. There was no mention of the business. No mention of the $20,000 I'd poured into her dream. Just nostalgia, longing, and a breadcrumb trail of emotional cheating wrapped in emojis and late-night messages. I heard the shower running in the background, and suddenly everything around me felt like it was underwater, muffled, distant, wrong. Put the phone back exactly where she left it, sat there in silence, and waited until she came back out wrapped in a towel, smiling. Humming something mindless, she kissed me on the cheek like nothing was broken, and I kissed her back like I hadn't just watched our entire relationship burn from the inside out. Because in that moment, I didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal, or the fact that I still loved her anyway. After that night, I became an actor in my own life. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or cry or pack a bag. I smiled. I kissed her good morning. I talked about floral arrangements and seating charts like nothing had changed. But inside, I was spiraling. Every touch felt fake. Every I love you sounded like a performance. I couldn't applaud anymore, but I needed time. I needed to watch her. I needed to understand just how deep this betrayal went. Because if I was going to walk away, I wanted to make sure I didn't just leave. I wanted to never look back. So I started paying attention, really paying attention. She'd hide in the guest room for client calls, giggling like a teenager. I'd walk past and hear the tone of voice she used to say for me. She started taking longer errands, coming back with shopping bags and that glazed-over smile people wear when their mind is somewhere else. I began collecting proof, not for revenge, not for some courtroom scene, just for clarity. Screenshots of texts, timeline notes, even receipts she left around. I built a quiet digital folder on my laptop named Exit Plan, and through it all, I tested her. I mentioned Tyler in casual conversations. Watched her eyes twitch. I asked, "Do you ever talk to your exes?" And she shrugged. "Not really." "Why?" I started to realize the lying wasn't new. It was just louder now, bolder, like she assumed I'd never question it because I was the safe one, the guy who doesn't make waves. And the worst part, I still wanted her to choose me. Even with everything I knew, some foolish part of me clung to hope. Hope that she'd wake up, realize what she had, and pull away from that cliff. But deep down, I knew she'd already jumped. It was a Saturday night, one of those group dinners, with mutual friends where everyone brings someone. Ava told me a few days prior, Tyler might stop by. He's working on branding with us now, just like that. No warning, no concern, like she wasn't talking about the man she'd been emotionally cheating with. I froze. Tyler, as in your ex, Tyler. She gave me this tight smile. It's purely professional. Grow up, the way she said it. Like I was the problem. Like I was immature for reacting at all. I wanted to say no. I wanted to call it all off. But part of me wanted to see him needed too. I needed to look into the eyes of the man she was choosing in the shadows. I wanted to know if he looked like someone worth losing everything over. Dinner was at this trendy rooftop restaurant. Loud music, dim lighting, lots of clinking glasses, and staged laughter. Ava looked stunning. Of course, black dress, gold hoops, effortless, like she wasn't walking into this night with a grenade under the table. Tyler showed up 20 minutes late. Tall, cocky, overgelled hair, and a voice just loud enough to dominate the table. She stood to hug him tight, too long, and introduced him to the group as her creative consultant. When she got to me, she barely touched my shoulder. "And this is my fiancé Mark," she said like she was reading it off a script. No warmth, no pride, just logistics. Tyler smiled at me, extended his hand, and said, "The lucky guy." I shook his hand, firm and steady, while my insides screamed. For the next 2 hours, I sat there as they flirted in code-inside jokes, eye contact, soft laughs. Everyone else was too distracted to notice. But I saw everything, and in that moment, I made a silent promise they would never see me break. Ava wanted a joint pre-wedding getaway, not a typical bachelor or bachelorette party, too tacky, she said. She pitched a weekend trip with friends to a cabin near the lake. Just pure vibes, she promised. I agreed, mostly to keep the peace, but my gut was already sounding alarms. There were 10 of us total. Me, Ava, and a mix of her friends and mine. She spent the entire first night clinging to her phone, laughing at private messages, sneaking off to take a call and returning with that same glazed-over smirk I was starting to hate. I kept trying to engage her. She kept slipping away. The second night, I pretended to fall asleep early in the room we were sharing. She stayed up with her best friend Lacey, whispering and giggling in the living room just down the hall. The cabin was old, thin walls, creaky floors. I heard everything, Lacey said. "So, are you really going through with this?" Ava paused. Then she said, laughing, "I just wish Tyler had proposed first." "That's all," Lacey gasped like it was gossip. Ava kept going. "Mark is sweet. He's safe. But Tyler, he has fire." You know, my heart cracked in real time. I stared at the ceiling, every muscle in my body clenched. I felt like I was drowning under a blanket I couldn't kick off. I wanted to burst into the room and scream, throw my ring at her, and leave. But I didn't move. I lay there, teeth grinding, breath shallow, letting her words wrap around my throat. She came to bed later, like nothing happened, kissed my cheek, slid under the covers. And as she slept peacefully beside me, I stared at the ring box in my bag and realized she wasn't mine. She never was. 2 weeks after the lake trip, Ava sat me down in our apartment, no makeup, hair pulled back, oversized hoodie that used to feel like home. Her hands trembled around a mug of tea she didn't drink. I thought someone had died. Then she said, "I think we should postpone the wedding. Not cancel, postpone." She gave me a rehearsed speech about feeling overwhelmed and unsure, said things were moving too fast, that maybe we both needed space to breathe, but her voice cracked in strange places, like she was trying to sell something she didn't believe. I kept my face blank and said, "Okay." Just that, no argument, no questions. I expected relief in her eyes. Instead, she panicked. She blinked fast. Her whole body shifted, like I'd just pulled the rug out from under her. "What, you're not even going to fight for this?" she snapped. I shrugged. "You said you're not sure? Why would I push you into something you don't want?" She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Then the backpedaling began. I didn't mean cancel. I meant push it out a few months. Maybe I just need time to figure things out. That's when it hit me. She didn't want me. She wanted the comfort I gave, the life I made easy, the steady ground she could walk on while keeping one eye on the storm she actually wanted. Tyler. This wasn't love. This was insurance. And in that moment, something inside me snapped, not loudly, but quietly, like a branch breaking deep in a forest. No one hears it. But, the tree is never the same. I nodded again, told her we'd talk more later, and went to our bedroom. I locked the door, not because I was angry, because I had just decided she would never see the end coming. I spent the next 3 days undoing every thread of our wedding, without saying a single word to her. First, I called the venue. The deposit was in my name, non-refundable, but I didn't care. I told them the wedding was off. Then the caterer, the florist, the DJ, each time I said the same thing. Plans changed. Please cancel everything. I sent polite follow-up emails, BCCD, to a new folder labeled Freedom. The ring. Returned. It hurt to part with it not because of the cost, but because of what it had symbolized before it got poisoned. The refund went to a Visa gift card tucked into my wallet like a trophy. I canceled our honeymoon flight to, but not entirely. I changed it. I kept my seat. Deleted hers. Then I paid a little extra and made it a one-way trip. A solo escape. Back at home, I acted normal. We watched Netflix. Ate takeout. I listened as she told me about fabric swatches and a new RSVP from her cousin. It was like watching someone decorate a house that had already burned down every time she brought up the wedding. I nodded, smiled, agreed, but inside, I was packing. Not just bags, memories, resentment, years of being the safe choice. And through it all, she never suspected a thing. She'd grown so used to me being predictable, patient, passive. She couldn't imagine I'd move without asking for permission. But I'd already spoken to my landlord. Given 30 days' notice, I started apartment hunting. Under a new email, I even opened a new checking account, slowly moving funds without triggering alerts. Planning a future with her, I was planning my exit, and I was going to leave behind silence so loud it would echo in her chest for years. She went out on a Thursday night for what she called a networking dinner. Same excuse she'd used a dozen times before. I watched her curl her hair, spritz perfume behind her ears, then glance at herself in the mirror with that look she never gave me anymore. She kissed me on the cheek before she left, saying, "Don't wait up. IDN." Single quotes, as soon as the door clicked shut. I got to work. I had pre-packed her clothes into boxes the night before, carefully folded, organized by drawer. I wasn't trying to be cruel. Just clean, efficient. Done. I loaded everything into the back of a rental van, drove across town, and dropped it all off at her mom's house. I didn't knock. I didn't leave a note. I just placed it under the porch light, like a package no one ordered. Then I drove back and changed the locks. Every knob, every deadbolt. I changed the Wi-Fi password, logged her out of all shared accounts, Spotify, Netflix, our joint calendar. I scrubbed the apartment of anything that had her name or scent or shade of lipstick on it by midnight. The place was mine again. When she returned, probably buzzed, probably wearing someone else's cologne, found the door wouldn't budge. She called my phone, blocked. She pounded on the door, screaming my name. I sat in the dark, just a few feet away, holding my breath like she was a storm I didn't want to feed. She cried. Then she cursed. Then she screamed at the hallway like someone owed her something. But I didn't move, because for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel safe, or stable, or quiet. I felt done, and I wasn't unlocking that door not for her guilt, not for her lies, and definitely not for her tears. The next morning, my phone was a war zone. Calls from her mom, her sister, even her aunt in Florida I hadn't heard from since Thanksgiving. My inbox flooded with messages that started with concern and quickly turned to condemnation. How could you do this to her? She's devastated. Be a man and talk to her. I didn't answer a single one. I blocked every number, deleted every email, even changed my phone number entirely a few days later. It wasn't just about Ava anymore. It was about reclaiming every inch of space they'd taken in my life. Her mom left a voicemail, sobbing. Said she didn't raise her daughter to be perfect, but she deserved a chance to explain. I listened to maybe 10 seconds of it before deleting it, because I didn't need an explanation from the woman who raised someone so good at lying. Then came the guilt tactics. Asterisk Bible verses, quotes about forgiveness, even a group message from one of her cousins saying, family isn't disposable just because you're hurt. But here's the thing, none of them checked on me. Not one person asked what happened. No one wondered why a man who paid for everything, supported her dreams, and kept quiet for so long would suddenly go nuclear, because they were all used to me being safe, predictable, the man who'd never dared disrupt their perfect image. So I did the one thing they never expected. I disappeared. New number, new apartment. I even changed jobs within the same industry just to make sure she couldn't find me through LinkedIn or some mutual contact. And the silence I left behind? It was louder than any apology they could have offered. I didn't owe them closure. I owed myself peace. It had been almost 3 weeks of silence when I got the message from a mutual friend named Jason, someone I hadn't blocked because I thought he was neutral. His text just said, "Dude, she says she's pregnant." My heart stopped. I read the sentence 3 times before my brain caught up. Pregnant. With my child. Jason sent a screenshot, a blurry Instagram story of his hand over her stomach. The caption, "Unexpected blessings." I felt like the floor opened up beneath me. My chest tightened, not with guilt, but fear. I'd made a clean exit. I'd burned the bridge and salted the earth. But this was something that could drag me back legally, emotionally, financially. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, Jason called me. He said Ava was telling people the baby was mine, that she'd been abandoned while pregnant, that I was heartless and had ruined her life. Some of our old acquaintances had already unfollowed me. Others messaged with thinly veiled judgment. But here's what Jason also said. She told my girlfriend a different story, that it might be Tyler's. She's saying different things to different people. That's when the fog in my head cleared. There were no doctor visits, no due date, no proof. Just a blurry photo, a dramatic caption, and a string of inconsistent lies. It wasn't a baby. It was bait. A last-ditch effort to yank me back into her world. To make me look like the villain while she played the abandoned victim. She didn't want me back. She wanted the story to bend in her favor. And for a moment, I almost let it, because that's how betrayal works. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It tells you maybe you were too harsh. Maybe you still owe her something. But no, I owed her nothing. And I was done letting guilt speak louder than truth. I sat with the weight of it all for days. This pregnancy story, the smear campaign she was launching behind my back, the way people who once called me solid now saw me as some coward who ran. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of engagement, but I also couldn't let her rewrite the ending, so I crafted a message. Not emotional, not dramatic, just final. I made a burner email, created a new address, something untraceable just for this. I typed slowly, every word deliberate. I know about the texts. I know about Tyler. You don't get to rewrite the truth. I was your safety net, not your love story. This is me stepping off the tightrope. You don't need to respond, because this is the last time you'll ever hear from me. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I hit send. And just like that, it was over. I deleted the email. Logged out, shut my laptop. I didn't wait for a reply, and I wouldn't have read it, even if she had. I packed a duffel bag, took the Visa gift card from the Ring refund, and booked a one-way flight to somewhere quiet. Mountains, pine trees, air that didn't reek of pretending. I staved off social media, didn't tell anyone where I was going, just vanished into peace. I thought I'd feel lonely, but I didn't, not even once. I felt clean because silence, when you've spent years swallowing your voice, isn't empty. It's sacred. And Ava, she didn't lose a fiancé. She lost a future, a partner who showed up, who sacrificed, who chose her Yvonne when she was already choosing someone else. I didn't need closure. I gave it to myself. People talk about closure like it's this clean, cinematic moment to people sitting down over coffee, confessing, forgiving, hugging, moving on. But that's not how real life works. Closure isn't a conversation. It's a decision. In the weeks that followed, I stopped replaying everything. The lake house, the texts, her voice saying, "He's not you." I stopped wondering what I could have done differently. I stopped trying to figure out what parts of our relationship were real and which parts were just well-acted lies instead. I started building a new life where she didn't exist. I deleted every photo, sold the furniture we picked out together, got a new phone, a new bank account, even a new email address. I moved into a smaller place, quieter, a little older, but mine. I started journaling every morning before work, just to remind myself I was still here. Some mornings, I'd wake up and feel a phantom version of her next to me, her perfume still somehow in the sheets I'd already changed. But then, I'd sit up, breathe deep, and remind myself, she's gone. Not because I lost her, but because I let her go. I joined a boxing gym, not for violence, for rhythm, for release. Every punch was a memory I refused to carry anymore. Every drop of sweat was another ounce of her leaving my bloodstream. I started to laugh again, real laughter. With strangers, with coworkers, even by myself at dumb shows I'd never admit to liking. And that's when I knew, peace doesn't come when they say, I'm sorry. It comes when you stop needing it. Ava could spin whatever version of me she wanted, but the man she betrayed, he doesn't live here anymore. He left the moment he realized he was never the problem. It had been just over a year. I was sitting in a cafe I'd never been to before, sipping a black coffee and reading a paperback, when my phone lit up with a notification from an unknown email. The subject line was blank. The message was short. You really hurt me. I hope you're happy. No signature, no name. But I didn't need one. It was her, the grammar, the passive aggression. The way she turned herself into the victim in a sentence so small, it was Ava. 100%. I stared at it for a moment, thumb hovering over delete. A small part of me waited for the old version of myself to kick in the man who would overthink it, wonder if he owed her a reply, wonder if maybe she'd changed. But that man was gone instead. I closed the email, blocked the sender, and tossed my phone face down on the table. No anger, no bitterness, just nothing. It wasn't sadness. It was peace, because what she wanted wasn't reconciliation. It was access. She missed the part of me that made her life easier, not the man himself. She wanted the comfort of knowing she could still get inside my head. But that door, it wasn't just locked, it was gone, replaced by walls I built myself patiently, quietly, and brick by painful brick. I paid my bill, walked outside, and let the winter air hit my face, cold and clean. I didn't look back. Not at the email, not at the inbox, not at the past, because the real revenge isn't rage. It's moving on so far, and so completely, that the version of you they betrayed doesn't even exist anymore. And right then, I smiled, because that version of me, he was finally free. Ava once told me, I was the safe choice, the guy you marry when you're tired of chaos, the guy who keeps the lights on and the drama low. I wore that title like a badge back then. Like being dependable was some great prize, but now I see it for what it was. She never loved me. She loved what I did for her, how I made her feel in control, how I stood still while she ran in circles chasing someone who'd never stay. I wasn't her home, I was her waiting room. She wanted Tyler, but she needed me. For bills, for image, for stability, for silence. And the moment I stopped being convenient, she tried to rewrite the whole story, but here's what she didn't expect. The safe choice never forgets how to burn things down when pushed too far. Because I wasn't the background character in her love triangle. I was the exit strategy. And when I left, I didn't just close the door, I burned the blueprint. Changed the locks. Cut the wires. Disconnected everything she'd ever plugged herself into. I stopped being the man who made her look whole. I stopped being her mirror, her rescue line, her scapegoat. And in doing that, I gave myself something she never could. Clarity now. I don't flinch when people ask why I'm single. I don't feel lesser for walking away. I feel lighter, cleaner. I look in the mirror and see someone who loved hard, stayed loyal, and still had the strength to walk when love turned into convenience. If you're reading this and you've become someone's backup plan, don't wait for the moment they choose you. That moment may never come. Be your own escape route. Lock the door. Change the flight. Ghost the story they tried to trap you in. Write your own, because being the safe choice doesn't mean being the second option. Sometimes it means being the one strong enough to leave first.